I didn't know there was a word for how cold a room could feel without the heat changing. My coat was still on. The zipper pressed into my chin. The counter was crowded the way it always was. Mail splayed like an argument nobody finished, a bowl of clementines with the peels curling back on themselves, a single candle burned down to a stub. I set the bag down carefully, like it mattered how gently it touched the laminate. "Why are you here?" my mother asked. Her voice wasn't raised. It didn't need to be. She had perfected a tone that didn't invite clarification. I stood there with my hands empty, feeling the imprint of handles that were no longer in them. "Christmas is for immediate family only," she added, as if this were a policy posted somewhere I'd failed to read. Immediate. The word did its work. It always did. I smiled, automatic, small, and said nothing. Silence is a habit you build when you've learned which words will be used against you. My sister didn't look up from her phone. My stepfather stared at the sink like he was calculating something. No one said my name. I watched the bag on the counter the way you watch a child in a room full of adults, hoping someone will acknowledge it. Knowing they won't. I left without a speech. No coat tug. No door slam. Just the weight of my hand on the knob, the click, the soft seal as it shut. Outside, the air was bright and unkind. I stood there for a moment because I didn't trust my legs yet. I counted 3 breaths. Then I walked to my car. The thing about moments like that is they don't feel like turning, they're happening. They feel administrative. A line item checked off. I drove home thinking about the bag, how I'd wrapped the loaf in parchment, how I'd chosen the mug, because it had the stupid joke she liked. It occurred to me, not for the first time, that I'd been shopping for permission for years. That night, I did something that felt both dramatic and boring. I muted the thread. I blocked the numbers. I turned off notifications and put my phone face down on the table. I didn't announce it to anyone. I didn't post a thing. I made tea and sat on the floor with my back against the couch because the couch felt too big. The relief didn't come right away. What came first was the itch, my thumb moving toward a phone that wasn't there, the reflex to explain, to soften, to take responsibility for a tone I hadn't used. I went to bed early. I woke up early. I felt empty in a way that wasn't hollow so much as clean. In the morning, the phone lit up anyway. I hadn't blocked everyone. There are always numbers you forget, extensions you don't recognize. The screen filled with missed calls like tally marks. Voicemails stacked without being listened to. 32 by noon. The panic had a rhythm to it, short calls, then longer ones, then messages sent to my email, which I had forgotten was connected. I didn't listen yet. I made breakfast. I answered a few work emails. I went for a walk around the block and noticed the way frost collects on the same fence every year. Control, I was learning, doesn't have to announce itself. The call came from a number I didn't know. A woman introduced herself and asked if I had a moment. "I'm calling from St. Mark's," she said, professional, calm. "You're listed as the emergency contact for." She said my mother's name. There it was. Not a confession, not an apology. Logistics. "There's been a fall," the woman continued. "Nothing life-threatening, but we're having difficulty reaching anyone authorized to make decisions." I sat down at my desk. My hand didn't shake. "I can help," I said. And then, because this mattered, "I need to be clear about what I can and can't do." She paused, the way people do when they realize a boundary is being placed and they are allowed to accept it. "I'm available to authorize care," I said. "I'm not available to mediate family communication. Any updates can come through you." "That's fine," she said. Relief threaded through her voice. Authority recognizes clarity. I hung up and stared at the wall. This was the part I'd never imagined, not confrontation, not a grand reckoning, but a desk, a phone, and a sentence spoken once. The calls kept coming. I listened to one voicemail then, just one. My sister's voice had lost its edge. My stepfather's sounded older. My mother's was clipped, then not. "We need to talk," she said, like a statement of fact, like weather. I didn't call back. I emailed the hospital administrator with the information they asked for. I forwarded a document. I signed where indicated. When the social worker called to confirm, I answered and kept my answers narrow. I felt, strangely, like myself. By evening, a lawyer's assistant called. There was a form on file, outdated, that needed clarification. "We were told you're not reachable," she said. "I am reachable," I said. "Under certain conditions." She asked what those were. I told her. She typed. She said, "Understood." That was the turning point, if there was one, the moment the family's urgency met a system that did not care about their hierarchy. The door they'd closed without thinking didn't open from their side anymore. Not because I'd locked it in a rage, but because I'd stepped back and let the latch catch. Later, I went to the kitchen and noticed something small and almost funny. The counter was clear. No bag, no offering. Just space. I thought about how often I'd filled space to keep it from becoming a quaysted. I listened to another voicemail. "We're worried." My mother said. The word landed differently than immediate. It wasn't an apology, it wasn't nothing. It was data. I didn't answer. Not yet. I wasn't punishing anyone. I was calibrating. In the days that followed, the calls slowed. Messages became careful. Someone asked if I was okay. I was. I went to work. I slept. I noticed the way my shoulders sat lower when my phone was quiet. On Christmas morning, I made coffee and stood by the window. Across the street, a neighbor struggled with a tree and laughed at himself. I thought about the bag again, not what was in it, but the way I'd placed it down like proof of belonging. I understood, finally, that self-respect doesn't arrive with fireworks. It arrives with paperwork and silence and a sentence you don't repeat. A week later, I sent one email. It was short. It didn't rehearse the past. It named the present. It said what I could offer and what I couldn't. It ended without a question mark. I don't know what happens next. I know only that when authority called, I answered. When control tried to return wearing urgency, it found a boundary instead, and in that quiet, something settled, not victory, not revenge, but a steadiness I intend to keep.